This podcast is part of the Deluxe Edition Network. To find other great shows on the network, head over to deluxeeditionnetwork.com. That's deluxeeditionnetwork.com.
For all who are willing to pay the price, we invite you to go through the mirror of life.
We are back with a new episode. Since my last Hammer review done so well, I thought I'd do another one. This one being a bit more obscure. Let's talk about The Vampire Circus from 1972.
It's alive! It's alive! It's alive! It's alive!
Before we jump in, let's talk about the podcast of the month over on the Deluxe Edition Network. Deep Dark Secrets is a true crime podcast, with our first season being about death fetishes, porno industry and the deaths relating around that community. So check them out in the link in the bio. And we have The Barrel Age Chicks, a sister podcast from the Barrel Age Flicks, so expect the same amount of entertainment from them. They discuss movies and they have a good time doing it. You can also check them out in the bio. So the story starts out in an old English village, and there's kids going missing, there's people getting killed, and basically they find out there's this count that it's been proven that he's been taking the kids and people's wives, and he's actually a vampire. So the village get their men together and obviously go straight to kill the count. Now, even though he's a count, there's no Count Dracula in this film, there's no Christopher Lee, there's not even Peter Cushing in this one. So I don't know what his name is. I think we just call him the Count in this film, but he is very good. So the village people managed to get the better of the Count, stabbing him in the back with a wooden stake. Real typical way of killing a vampire. That's very textbook of Hammer, and I love it. Count mentions that he's going to come back and get their kids in like a revenge, so eventually he's put to bed. And anyway, all the village people are happy, bar a few which their wives are still under control of the Count. They're in like a sort of a daze, but other than that, everything is all dandy until a circus rolls through the village. With a plague being spread through the land, villagers were more than happy that the circus was actually there. So, but this is not your typical circus. It's ran by a bunch of vampires, and they're looking to resurrect the Count, fulfilling his demands of killing the children. So like it was all them years ago, the children are all going missing. So now I want to quickly talk about Hammer during this time. It was the 1970s, and with the US putting out classics like Psycho and The Exorcist, this would have forced Hammer to be a bit more clever with their movies. So around that time they would have gone on to release some more psychological horrors. But I must say this one keeps that classic Terence Fisher vampire vibe, and I'd actually consider this a hidden gem. It doesn't get the love that it deserves. This could be one of Hammer's last great movies in my opinion. And as a lover of killer clowns that would go on to be released years later, I love the whole circus vibe to it. Plus the vampires in this are fucking mental. My favourite one's the one that turns into a panther. Really good stuff. And this film shares the same sets as the Twins of Evil, but in my opinion this one is a good bit better. The one thing I can say though, I don't know what's with these like Hammer films with the vampires hissing like fucking cats. It just comes off a little bit cheesy and a little bit funny sometimes. I don't get it. So the circus continues. More and more kids are going missing and people are turning up with vampire bites on their necks. So the villagers are finally starting to get suspicious of this creepy circus that just came through the town. So people now know that the vampires want to resurrect the Count, and he's buried in the tombs underneath the village. Every kid that is killed is another step for bringing back the Count from the grave. And there's a great little detail: every kid that gets killed or bit skips to the Count's grave, and it's a nice little visual of blood splatter, and it just disappears on his body. Before we talk any more about the review, let's hear Dean now talk about our sponsor, Sunday Scaries. Let's get into it.
Life is scary when you wake up and realise that you texted your ex a you up text. Yeah, we all deal with those Sunday scaries. The oh shit, stressful, nervous, can't sleep, dread feelings that hit you on a Sunday evening when you're thinking about work or school or just life for tomorrow. Unfortunately, you can feel that same pit in your stomach any day of the week. Sunday Scaries CBD gummies were made to defeat the crap life throws at us. These are the perfect CBD gummies for professionals on the grind, super moms, students, party animals, regretful drunk sexters, and everybody in between. I am a terrible sleeper. My scaries tend to hit me on night time, so I end up spending precious an hour staring at the ceiling questioning life. So I'm always looking for new ways to get better sleep. Sunday Scary CBD gummies help me decompress, clear my mind and fall asleep so I can wake up like a fully functioning human being. We all have the right to live scare-free. So whether you need to take the edge off, calm your mind, sleep better, or just chill, take 2 CBD gummies every day to keep those scaries away. Let me save you with our 10% discount. Visit sundayscaries.com and use our promo code GRAVEYARD. That's GRAVEYARD, all capital letters, for 10% off at sundayscaries.com.
It really is a pity that these Hammer films kind of went out of style and fashion really quick. As I said in like my other Hammer videos, like there is a little bit of magic there. Like now, fair enough. Like come 1970s, like the well were outdated like by the American horror films. Like you couldn't really compare this to say The Exorcist on a completely different level what they were doing over in America at the time. Like do you know, so I don't know. I don't think Hammer could keep up with how the horror genre were changing. Like, but I still respect them for what they did put out during them 1970s time. A lot of psychological one. I even remember one called The Nanny, and it's shot in black and white, same as Psycho. So they were going for that same sort of psychological style with that film. But I think at least with this one, you can't really compare this to like The Vampire Circus. Name me another film that would remind you of this one. Really, really good film, I thought. Now, I will say my co-host wasn't a big fan of this movie. That's why I'm covering it myself today. You're either into these films or you're not. I found the plot really good. The whole idea of a vampire circus was killed to me. A lot of the villagers themselves were pretty funny. One of them being Frankenstein's assistant from Frankenstein Created Woman. That's another Hammer classic I want to show people. It's a really good one. But I just thought the whole cast brought it all together really well. You're wrong. You can't really be Hammer at these 1800s era of horror. I wouldn't say this is gothic now, but it still has that style to it. So to wrap up the plot of it, the last kid is killed and basically the Count resurrects from the grave, scaring the fuck out of all the villagers that thought he was put to bed all them years ago is now back. But the one thing I will say, it was quickly stopped. A crossbow straight through the chest and he's gone. So after all of that fuss, he's literally put down with one bow. And basically that ends all the madness. All the vampires go and the village is back to being a lovely village again. Now, the one thing I'm thinking, I say they don't want to see another circus now for the rest of their life after what goes on in this film.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to Quad Pro Quo. Right now, you are probably thinking to yourself, oh great, another movie podcast. Well, dear listener, you would be right. But throw in a couple of marriages, decades-long friendships, and a shared property line, and you have just another movie podcast with a shitload of drama. Inspired by the iconic quid pro quo scene in Silence of the Lambs, each week, one of us will pick a movie. It could be a childhood favorite, a classic film noir, an Academy Award winner, or a complete dumpster fire that brings joy to that person's heart. The selector's objective? To get us to love, or at the very least, not hate their pick. Will our marriages, our friendships, and our neighborhood survive? Find out each Thursday on Quad Pro Quo.
That was Quad Pro Quo. That's a movie podcast over on the Deluxe Edition. Two couples and they have a lot of fun and they discuss movies. I'm going to leave a link to their show in the description as well. Again, I said it before, you need to get your arse over to the Deluxe Edition network. There's plenty of podcasts for everyone over there. You have horror podcasts like mine that is just strictly horror. You have more like general movie podcasts. We have pop culture over there, we have comedy, we have true crime podcasts. So if any of them tickles your fancy, get yourself over there. I'm going to leave a link to the website as well in the description. If you made it this far in the review, I'd just like to say thank you for watching. And if you could, leave a like on the video. It really does make a difference. We're growing at a nice pace at the moment, and I'd love to keep that going. So leaving a like really does help, and even if you can, comment. But if you want to hear more reviews like this, and you want to hear us talking about more Hammer, subscribe as well. That would be great. So I want to talk about my final verdicts, my ratings, and the goods and the bads. And although I'll be honest with you, there's not many bad parts of this film. I'll just get into it. The plot was a little bit wacky. The whole idea of the circus coming through to resurrect the count that died at the very start of the film was a bit wacky for me, but it was done well. I thought the acting in the film was really good. I thought personally, like, they've done a great job. It just the hissing scenes with the vampires just didn't do it for me. But other than that, I loved the whole vibe of the circus. The music in it was really good. The setting of the old English village in the 1800s, I love all that. Hammer are number one at doing them sort of films. You can't beat them when it comes to that old style. And although it's not gothic, it definitely has that sort of vibe. So I rated, if you were listening to my last podcast, I rated the Brides of Dracula an 8 out of 10. Now that was a solid 8 out of 10, and I'll be honest, that's probably still my favourite Hammer film. And I'll be honest, like, I only seen the Vampire Circus there the other night. We have a channel over here in Ireland, and actually I think it's an English channel, but every Saturday and Sunday night they have this thing called the Vintage Vault, and a lot of the times they're playing these old Hammer films. So during the week I just seen advertised the Vampire Circus on at 9 o'clock, and I've never seen it before, so I watched it. So it's still fresh in my mind. So the rating I'd give this film would be a 7.2 or 3. Like, it's not an 8 like Brides of Dracula. Brides of Dracula had it all. This film, it was just missing something. Like, not sure what it was. Maybe it could have been Peter Cushing because I love him that much, but I think a 7.3 is a nice score for this film. And there's actually I want to talk about, there's actually the vampire that I mentioned. He changes into Black Panther. He's the spit image of Jack Harlow, the rapper from America. But I thought he was actually very good in it. Now, I forget who plays him. His name is Emil in the film, but he was definitely my favourite in the film. He was fantastic as that vampire. But if you've seen this film, I am interested in your thoughts, because I don't really hear about too many people hearing about it. Even in the Hammer horror group on Facebook, it doesn't get mentioned a lot. So if you have seen this, do leave a like and tell me what you think of it. And for the people who haven't seen it, maybe a lot of the American viewers might have not have seen this film, I do advise you go over and give it a watch. You know what to expect when you're watching these Hammers, so you have to let the mind drift and just enjoy it. I think it's typical Hammer, but it's in 1970s instead of the late 50s and 60s. Like, I enjoyed it, and I'll be looking out on that Vintage Vault on that Legend channel a lot more. Yeah, actually, like that, like a lot of the English viewers that be watching would already know about this channel. But if you don't, Legend, you can get it on Sky and all these other different cable providers. Like, but definitely watch it every Saturday and Sunday night. Mostly every Saturday and Sunday, they play like old Hammer films, and I'm excited to see what that channel is going to be like around Halloween, because I love these old films. They remind me of the Universal monsters, like, you know what I mean, but they're a bit more weirder. Like, that's what Hammer like originally done at the time to make them different to the rest that already came before. Was like, obviously the blood, the bright red blood, which I read that they used all different types of ingredients to make the blood, from jam to fucking syrup and all this type of stuff. Like, it's great. There's a lot of history with these Hammer films. And before I say my final goodbyes here on the podcast, I just want to talk about the last sponsor, Doobie Energy Drinks. We have a 10% discount code over there. These are energy drinks that you make at home. They're powder form, and they're not packed with any of that garbage that the rest of them are on the market. You know the ones I'm talking about. So when I'm up all night editing these podcasts and videos for the channel, I usually bang a couple of them out, and they have a wide range of flavours, anything you want. I like the more tropical ones. So if that's your thing, we've a link down in the description, as well as the Sunday Scaries. So definitely check that out and get yourself 10% off high quality CBD products and Dewey energy drinks. Yeah, so the Vampire Circus, I'll give it a good solid 7.3. Anyone who hasn't seen this film, or in general hasn't seen any Hammer films, use this video as a chance now to go and check them out, and come back to this channel and let me know what you think of them. I really appreciate anyone that's been subscribing and liking the videos. It really does help. So anyone that's been watching, thanks very much. The one thing I will say though, I've been on the YouTube studio looking at the analytics. There's about 80% of people not even subscribe watching the channel. So honestly, I want to fix that. Subscribe now, and we'll keep going with these podcasts. Yeah, so just make sure you get your arse over to the Deluxe Edition Network. We have plenty of podcasts over there. Shout out to Ryan Casey holding it down over there. And yeah, thank you for watching. We've plenty more podcasts coming your way. We're currently working on a top 5 found footage horror, and it's not going to be our typical found footage top 5 either. I guarantee most of these you're not even going to fucking hear of in this list. So keep your eye out for that one. And Dee is going to be back with me on that one as well. As I said, she doesn't really like these Hammer films, so we'll have to give her a chance with what she wants to do as well. So yeah, keep that out. There's plenty more series coming. I'm trying to think if we should continue on with that Silent Era series. Like it got decent amount of views, but I find them a bit niche, the 4 or 5 minute video format. But again, if you let me know if you like them in the comments as well. But I'm gonna leave it here for today. Again, thanks for watching. Shout out to everyone that's watching, and I'll see you on the next one.
Will die to give me